So I'll just ask some questions if that's okay.
Yeah, sure.
Good. So thank you. Thanks.
Thank you.
So I know we've got some more of the cast and crew actually in the audience, but
Yeah, there's Shaheen Khan is here. I can't see anybody, but Shaheen. And I don't know if Bhaskar's arrived.
we can't get
and
everybody up on the
Kulvinder.
step. Thank you. Thanks.
Kulvinder, I forgot
we'll
how
get them-
scary you were, man.
We'll get them on stage later on just to...
All right, okay.
We'll ask them to come and take a bow in at the end of the Q&A, if that's okay. So I just wanted to just ask you about this remarkable film. It seems as relevant today as it was all those years ago. And I just wondered about how the story came about. Obviously, it's written by Tanika, produced by Behrouz, but what came first in this remarkable
script.
story? Exactly.
The script always comes
Usually,
first.
yeah, usually does. But,
In fact,
not always.
I sent in the idea when I was pregnant with my second child, like heavily pregnant, and that my second child is sitting in the audience, and she's 28 now. So, and it was actually based on, I worked in a refuge in Manchester, so everything is for real. You know, the whole thing about young women running away from home, and you know, the phone call, and meeting them at the station, and them being completely lost, like Shika is. The weird thing is they would all turn up with really beautiful long hair, and then within about 2 weeks they cut it, and I'd be going, don't cut it, don't cut it. Yeah, I mean, everything is kind of factual in a way, and it's an amalgamation of lots of different women's stories, obviously. But those refuges do not exist now. They have been completely cut. And that's the sad thing about it, that when an Asian woman runs away from home for whatever reason, she's not just running away from her family, she's running away from her entire community. And so a lot of these women were completely lost, you know, completely lost. And there were these incredible Asian women as refugees up and down the country. There was a very famous case of a woman called Balwant Kaur, who was in a refuge. I think the Southall Black Sisters did a lot of work, campaign work around that. And her husband actually broke into the refuge and killed her, stabbed her when she was sleeping there with her children. And so, in a sense, the film was a kind of amalgamation of lots of different stories. And it was just so wonderful to bring it to life on the screen.
And how did you and Behrouz come together, and with Francis Anne Solomon, I believe the other producer was as well?
I just happened to be at the right place at the right time. I went to see the BBC about another project, and I met Francis Anne Solomon, who had developed the film with Tanika for a long time, right? And they couldn't produce it in-house because of certain regulations and costs.
It's too many Asians in it.
What?
Too many Asians in it. That's what it was. I mean, it had a much smaller budget than
it had a very small budget
than all the other BBC single films they did. Sorry, I'm not slagging off the BBC. I mean, they did produce it, but it was interesting in those days how these kind of films got a lot less budget, basically.
So the BBC had a bet that it would crash, the film would crash, and only an idiot would take it on. And we made it with £10,000 under budget.
And Roshan actually won an award for Best Actor for
the Sochi
Film Festival. And I remember Roshan said to me at the time, this film will grow in the dark.
It was amazing. And it was on in loads of festivals all over the world.
Yeah.
I mean, it was largely ignored here, really sadly. And it was on at the London Film Festival. Do you remember?
I think it was on.
We showed it at our festival in Bradford years ago. So that was Bite the Mango Film Festival in Bradford years ago.
I saw it in Manchester on Saturday. So this is like the second time. I still gripped, but it grips me. And also, strangely, even after all these years, I know every single line of it. I can hear it, and even little, I was just sitting next to it, I just flinching at little things, and it's an astonishing film. And even in Manchester, there was just a deathly hush at the end, and everyone was just like it looks like an art house.
What's interesting that a couple of the women who were in the refuge when I was working there came to see came to see it in Manchester, and they wrote to me afterwards saying how amazing it was. They kept saying, "Was that me?" And I kept saying, "No."
And Mina, how did you become involved with the film?
Well, I'd left drama school about 4 years before, and I was just doing loads of theatre and musicals. And I remember at first, I wasn't available at all because I was filming something else, and I knew that there was this film, and that's I was born and bred in that town, and it was, and I just couldn't believe there was a film that said so much about the narrative of where I grew up. You know, being Northern, being Asian, you know, about women, about patriarchy, about all sorts. And I couldn't believe that was there. And I wasn't going to be able to play that part. And then
We
it
chased
shifted.
you.
Yeah, it shifted. And then I could see you. And
Yeah.
I was telling everyone why you set it in Accrington, because of David Hesmanhouse.
Yeah, so I set it in Accrington because the refuge that I worked with was in Manchester. And I'm not giving anything away because it doesn't exist anymore. But what was fascinating was that you would get young women, so we worked with women from about 14, who would come from all the sort of local areas like Nelson, Batley, Burnley, Blackburn, little pockets of Asian communities where the women were, not all of them obviously, but many of them were very, very repressed. We also got young girls running away who had been told off by their parents for cutting their hair. And we go, "No, I think you need to go home," actually. But one of my best mates at university was David Hesmanhouse, who happens to be from Accrington. So I used to go there a lot. And Dave
And my best friend at school was his sister. So
Julie
we
Hesmanhouse,
grew up together
so-
from like age of 5. So it was there was just so many stars that were just meant to be. And then my filming shifted, and then
But what's fascinating
Could
about
make
that area is the cotton mills everywhere.
Yeah.
And you can't get away from the imagery, or the image that you see of those mills on the horizon everywhere. And we all know about the Asian communities who came to Britain, who worked in those mills, and how those mills also have an effect on Indian history, the whole thing about Mahatma Gandhi coming here and talking to the cotton mills in Lancashire. So it's all a kind of like, and I think in Accrington there was a whole Dulux paint factory where a lot of the Asians worked. And then, of course, there was the demise of those factories, and there were accidents. So that's why Roshan's character, Anil, I've forgotten his name until today, Anil, was injured in an accident in the factory. So I thought
my dad was had an industrial accident, and there was just so many things that I understood in it. So I just wanted to. I'll never get a role like that. I've never had a role like that again. So it's an astonishing.
Well, there's still time, mate.
You know, I want to pay a tribute to two people. First of all, the director who can't be here, Alex Pillay. I think he's really sad because he's in quarantine doing a film. And also Frances Anne Solomon, because she really believed in the project, and she had got 6 films to be made by George Faber. They only made Flight and another one in the end. And it was to develop black talent, black and Asian talent. So all the crew and the cast. Yeah. So that was a very important moment in the 90s, which shouldn't be forgotten.
Well, it was also the beginning of my career, because if it wasn't for Frances Anne Solomon being the sole black producer at the BBC, trying to get more black and Asian talent in, I mean, some would say it's tokenism, but if it hadn't been for that tokenism, I wouldn't have had a chance to start writing. And it was her belief in me. I mean, to be honest, you know, she's now, I think she's on the Academy now, isn't she, in America, and she's doing very well. But it would have been wonderful if we'd had more people like Frances Anne throughout the years. I mean, it's astonishing that this film has taken this long, you know, and it was just a wonderful experience. And I was watching all the extras as well in the film. I was seeing pictures of my parents in the background of all the shots, and
your children in the
and
scenes.
my children in the scenes, and they were very little. It was a little flash, and how young and beautiful everyone looked. And I couldn't believe Mira Sial. It was extraordinary.
The hair.
It's just the hair.
But it was so beautiful that I just think,
Yeah.
even just as a piece of film, apart from the fact that it just looks like an art house film now, and it's so still, and almost as if you're just a fly on the wall. I think Mike Spragg did an astonishing job at the DOP. Just the fact that it's so quiet. There's some long shots of just watching people thinking and feeling a lot, and that's echoed by Nitin's score. Is so haunting, but it's so sparing where he puts the soundscape and the music. It's absolutely
And
stunning.
absolutely beautiful performances from Shaheen Khan,
Khan,
as
yeah.
the mother,
Yeah.
and Kulvinder as the bounty hunter, and everybody, and of course our wonderful Meena, and and even Nina Wadia as the sort of, the young mother trying to sort of make her mind up whether she wants to stay or not. But I remember when Shaheen was playing the part of the mother, we were all a bit worried because she's so young looking, and she still looks even younger now. And we had to put on lots of makeup on her to make her look old.
But I aged down, and
Yeah.
Nushi aged up because we're
Yeah.
nearly the same age. So I was playing 16, and you went up in age. So it's
Yeah.
the extraordinary thing.
Yeah, no, it was a beautiful performance.
Amazing.
And how did you prepare for the role? I mean, it's so it was based on, obviously there were some lots of references to you in your own life, but how did you?
I mean, it's
get
funny
into the
because I
role?
was asked when it was on, like we all feel as if we're representing all Asians or all. That's how you feel sometimes when you're making a film, and it's a dichotomy in yourself because you know that these stories are very important, and yet they are unique snapshots of one family, but they reflect a lot of people's lives. So to me, it's all in the writing, really. It's in the writing, and Alex was, I don't know, I've always loved film, and I think I just drew on the innocence of a girl like that, and I was 25 at the time, and I found the depth of it, and also it was my first film, so I was on set every single day for weeks, and I was really knackered. And that year I'd done the most astonishing things. I'd done a musical, I played a leading musical, I'd done the Thin Blue Line, and then I did this, and then I did another musical. So I was practicing my craft a lot, and I was thankful each of those things kind of fueled what I was able to do, because I'd got to a point where I could just be, I don't know, truthful.
Roshan
Honest.
was completely traumatised by the scene where he has to watch Shika being beaten up. He kept coming up to me, "Oh, Danica, I really know, it's making me feel sick. Why are you writing things like this?" It was like such a baby about it. Do you remember?
Yeah.
It
And I
just,
remember
we had
him
to keep
being-
crying on his...
The whole set that
Yeah,
day when
yeah.
when that
Yeah.
sequence happened, I remember everybody in the crew, we were all traumatized.
And
Yeah.
I had to sit with that makeup on,
Yeah.
and nobody could. It was like they just wanted to go, "Are you all right?" And I just had to sit in the corner and just not. It was that thing of being very disciplined to stay in character and not talk to people and joke about. But I remember even the dream sequence. I did that dream sequence, and Roshan sitting downstairs going, "Oh, that's hard, isn't it? It's hard. Are you all right? Do you want some
Yeah,
water?"
yeah.
And it was amazing. And that, I mean, Kully is amazing anyway. But the fact that we could be that free with a violent scene was amazing, and we just kind of went for that as fully as. I mean, she really slapped me around the face. I mean, you wouldn't get to do it now. You wouldn't get someone. You'd have and the sex scene as well
Yeah.
was just. It's just brave and everything you want in a film.
The bounty hunter of Kulvinder was actually based on a real person who, there were a number of them, and they were extraordinary. They were taxi drivers, and they would pass on information all the time to each other. So if a girl ran away from home, they would basically, it was like a sort of private detective, only a very sort of evil network. And it was quite scary. I mean, quite a few times as a refuge worker, I used to get followed quite a lot.
you said it was a very low budget film. You seem to have the entire who's who of British Asian actors involved in this film. I wondered, was this something that people just gravitated to? Obviously, this is before they became super
Yeah.
famous, but how did you
had
go about?
They had minimum wage, and because they were, I'm afraid, everybody was willing to work for much lower wages. That's why we could make the film, because it was the first chance, including for me as a feature producer. You know, it was.
But we did audition. I mean,
Yeah.
I've got a feeling that we might have started auditioning before Alex Pillay came along, because we were still looking for a director. We were particularly looking for an Asian director. And so me and Francis Ann did a lot of the auditioning. And we were so fortunate that all these people wanted to be in it. But the funniest audition we did was with Sinetra, who plays Verinda. And she was asked to climb on top of a wardrobe and then
And
jump
jump
down
down.
from it. And I remember sitting there as the writer thinking, I'm sure this isn't right. But she did it so beautifully that she got given the job. But she's extraordinary in it as well.
Yeah.
I love that scene in the. I remember doing that tequila one. And
Yeah.
strangely, I love tequila now. I do drink a lot of
Strangely,
tequila. I had
yeah.
a lot in lockdown. But it's amazing, that scene, and just that climb. And we really did climb up the
Yeah.
I mean, you wouldn't be allowed to do that.
You wouldn't do. I mean, yeah. I don't know how we got past
There'd be
health and safety.
coming out your ears.
It's because it was 27 years ago or something, isn't it?
So how does it look? Obviously, so many years later, you said it's kind of like, obviously it brings back memories, but obviously it seems to be very relevant, very contemporary as a film. I mean, some of the things, the times have changed, but the issues in the film, the actual writing, as you said, rightly said, is very now, and it's very vivid, and it's just as true as it was then. Just tell us what your kind of impressions of it now, looking back.
Well, I think it's. It grips me. There's a certain. You watch it, and it takes you by. It's like watching. You know, I grew up with a lot of like old films, like watching The Chess Players, or when you watch them now, you're just riveted by its stillness, and I just think it's an astonishing piece of work. Just the writing is stunning as well. I just think it's extra. I'm really sad that, in one way, I'm really happy that it's been celebrated, but in another way, I'm really sad that people didn't see it more when it was on, because I think it's brilliant.
I think, and also it was put on very late at night and suddenly in the middle, you know.
Yeah, they didn't even give us any notice
No,
about
so
it.
Indian time.
It's
at
just
like
that
3
sort
in
of
the morning.
commitment that they didn't have in those days, and you know, to our work. But I think what's really fascinating about watching it here is that this is only the second time I've seen it on a big screen, and that was really lovely to see, and also wonderful to see all the other films that have been on in this festival, including Wild West, which I loved. I remember watching it, and you know, all the work that we've been doing over the years that has actually not been recognised. And I don't want to sound like a sort of, you know, bitter and twisted individual, because.
Yeah.
But what I was saying to Barrows earlier on is that actually this was the moment in my career where I decided to go into writing for theatre, because film was not interested in me in this country. And so actually I've become known as a playwright, and because they allow me to write what I want to write. And they don't turn around and go, oh, would this happen? Or we're going to bring in a Muslim support network for you to research with, or whatever. They don't do that. They let you do what you want. And I think that's a shame. And I hope that for future generations, there will be much more diversity in the storytelling than there has been for us. Well, I would say we're pioneers in a way, but it's, you know, it's ongoing. It's ongoing.
Well, they open the door. I think there's certain things that the portrayal of these narratives, especially the ones that were in the regions that weren't, you know, not all the characters had Indian accents, and we were allowed to do certain things. And nobody had seen that. There was no like Northerners on the telly who looked like us. But I think I was saying to someone the other day, I was talking about film and the fact that I think our generation of actors, there was no trajectory after you'd made a brilliant film. There was no like, oh my God, they've gone now. They must be stellar. They'll be off on their way to like. There wasn't that. So you just feel as if you had, especially for me, I came out with so many skills out of drama school that I just feel as if I've just build my skills and carry on, really. That's all I do, really.
Well, it's the difference between what happened to Paminda Nagra after Bend It Like Beckham and what happened to Keira Knightley. I mean, I think that's sort of, for me, is a good example. And we just have to be a bit more supportive of ourselves and each other. And that's why, Carrie, you're so brilliant.
Yeah, exactly.
Because Carrie showed this in a Bradford Film Festival right at the beginning, and I remember thinking, why is he putting it on Bradford? You know, they're going to hate it. And there were a few guys there, weren't there? They were saying, why do you write things like this, and why are these women kissing, and what's, you know, this is a very bad depiction of Asian men. Why do you hate us? And I was going, it's only one film, and I don't hate Asian men, and there are lots of other stories that I tell, but they really, really went for it, didn't they? But having said that, it did very well in the festival, and thank you to Carrie for continuing the good fight.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's great to see such amazing work, rarely seen, but hopefully it will stimulate opportunities in the future. I think it's important for us. We wanted to focus on this year of Brexit. Obviously, it's looking at what is British experience in terms of British Asian experience, and how do we contribute towards British cinema and Britishness in many ways. So it's that's the aim of what we did. But obviously this is a great film to end the festival with, and we're very proud to have it in the festival with us. Would you like to invite the rest of the cast and crew that might be on the stage?
Can you please come?
In the audience, rather.
Can Shahi and Ajay? Ajay, can you come as well?
So please come and take a bow.
Nushi looks younger than ever. This is ridiculous.
Would you like to just say a couple of words each? Just.
It was really moving, actually, watching it again. And actually, for me, the distance of all those years, it felt even more powerful. And I don't know whether, and it really lends itself to the big screen, I thought. You know, I was thinking, a TV film on the big screen. Anyway, I thought it really worked. But also, the relevance of, unfortunately, these stories continues. And that's what's quite depressing, I think, for me. Because when we had done it, we thought, we're addressing these issues of now. And hopefully they won't be there, 30 years, whatever, down the line. My maths is really bad. Anyway, I'm a bit nervous. But also, for me, watching myself, actually, those mothers are so important. Even though they're always slightly on the quiet side, they never get so many lines. But their power is in that silence, in a way. And recently, like the Batley and Spen thing, it's the women who've said what is going on right now is not what we agree with. And they're silently doing it because they're really scared of these men still. So I'm really so pleased that I came out today, because I've been really socially distant and staying at home mainly. But it's been a really moving evening. Thank you to everybody.
Really, thank you. I think what Tonika said and Behrouz said, that Francis Anne Solomon at that time was really championing non-white writers. I remember meeting Tonika first time. I think it was your play, Ananda Shananda, which was a translation, and meeting her and then seeing her writing and being in them. Really gave us kind of a chance to practice our craft. Like Meena said, there weren't that many roles. There weren't that many writers who actually thought, well, I'll make a career out of being a writer. So when you had a chance to be in any project like this, you took it, and then you get to act with someone like Roshan Seth, and then I just watched everyone that I sort of grew up with. In the beginning, there weren't that many roles, so you ended up working with each other. Wild West, again, like Tonika said, people made films, but nobody saw it because they were shoved at the end of. At the end of the day, or 2 o'clock in the morning, like Indian time, And again, things like Herman Baines, he gave up writing. Like Tonika said, you write a film script and people will say, the producers will say, or the film houses would say, BBC or ITV, they'd say, no one's going to watch this. Or is this true? Actually, even now people say that. Does this happen? So that really discouraged a lot of writers. And then people like us actors sort of never got the chance to practice our craft. So every time you go up for a job, you feel like you're a newcomer. Like Meena said, you do a brilliant job, and then you're at the back of a queue. So you never had that kind of a journey up. But yeah, watching something like this, it really makes me proud to be part of everyone here. Yeah, and thank you.
Wow, that's the first time I've seen it.
Whatever.
Ever.
Oh my God.
And I was in tears. It took me back because it wasn't a good time. And I got this lady to thank a lot for. I met my partner doing waiting room when I have so much to thank this writer.
Got so
Her
many
creativity.
people together through my film.
Her consistency and to tell story and reality and honesty. That was then, and she's still doing it. And we don't stop. We carry on. You know, sometimes they say there are no small parts. They're not for us. Each one is an opportunity. We take it, we grab it, and we show it, and we show it, and we carry on. And that's our motivation in that. When we get great people to work with, and when we get great scripts to work with, the opportunity, you have to grab it then and make it work. That's the joy of being an artist, being a collaborator, is to carry on. The word is amazing. The power of that word, that's what I've learned through this time. Through script. Get writing. Tell those stories. Each individual has a story to tell. And we must tell those stories. There are stories, there are parent stories, and we mustn't forget those stories. And it doesn't matter if they're all the same, because we need them. You need them. So always go forward. And this today, for the first time seeing it, was very much forward. We were thinking forward, you know. Seeing these young guys at that time, Meena, Sinatra, Nina, you know, you feel proud because you know that there is a generation coming as well. But we need to carry on creating work for them. So let's not get down, let's keep on making more work and tell these stories. Please, Tonika, carry on, please make more stories. You know?
Can I just add something, please? Because I must pay tribute to Tonika's mother, because she was always there for me and she helped me with all the Bengali and everything, so thank you.
That's it, really. I just... Another thing, I just want to finish one more thing here. It was a northern story, and we all speak in different twangs and accents in different ways. And it was a lovely doing a northern story, you know, because those stories up there sometimes get forgotten. Just like Andrea, when we did Rita Sue, it got forgotten. But it's as much as that, not to forget that, and not forget that past. Thanks.
As a member of the production team, I'm not meant to be seen or heard. So, first thing, I'm born and bred from Manchester, Ashton-under-Lyne, so it resonates. The streets, everything in it resonates. The only thing I have to say is what an amazingly brave film. So thank you very much for making it and playing your parts in it. Thank you.
Sorry, I have to add that he's another one that met his wife on the set of Flight. I feel like I've been a bit of a matchmaker here.
It works. Thank you,
very
Tika.
much all for doing this today. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Safe journey. Thank you. Take it easy coming down the stairs.